there. We just got back from Singapore. It was so cool. It was so amazing. Such a cool place to go. And you think so many people talk about Singapore like it's a stopover destination, but it was definitely a place that you could go. We went there for 10 nights and it was so... I had all these things I wanted to do and we didn't even get them all done. So it was definitely a destination in itself. It was a really amazing place to go as a family and have your kids and so much to do. So I wanted to do a video on, and I want to tell you about flights, I want to tell you about accommodation, I want to tell you about amazing places to eat, amazing things to do. And you know what? You know, fun facts, you know, Singapore, of course, it's its own country, it's not a city, but it's not even that big, right? Like from end to end, it's only 50 kilometers. So it's not a massive country, and there's about 5.5 million people that live there. So, and it definitely didn't feel, there's not lots of cars on the road because it's so expensive to own a car there. And so it was an awesome place to go. And you know what, it's funny because it showed that we'd lived in Bali for a while because the kids were so excited off the footpaths. Yeah, honestly, we were so excited. They had these big wide footpaths and we were like, footpaths! I think that shows that we've been in Bali for a wee while. So anyway, let's talk about flights first. Flights. So we ended up flying Singapore Airlines. It was a direct flight from Bali. Now we could have flown Air Asia. Air Asia actually worked out to be a lot cheaper, but I'm actually a bit of a nervous flyer. Do you know what? I'm fine. The night before I sleep, I get to the airport, I'm super excited, I get on the plane, I'm still excited, and then once we start to take off, I'm honestly like this. I honestly freak out, and then we get in the air, and I'm like, it's fine, and if we have turbulence, I'm like this again. And I've been known to cry on planes, only when it's really bad, only when I think, you know, I'm going to die. So actually, when I was working a long, long time ago before children, I remember, you know, I'm from Wellington, you know, it's called Windy Wellington for a reason. And one time I was taking off, I was working and I was crying so bad that the man next to me said, if you don't stop crying soon, I'm going to need a life jacket. Dish. Anyway, so it never stops me seeing the world. Of course, I always fly and I love it. So Bali to Singapore on Singapore Airlines, that included all our bags. That was 5 people, so 3 adults because of course Mila's an adult now, and 2 children. And that was 1,600 New Zealand dollars. So it's pretty good in terms of, it's so close to Bali, right? The flight time is meant to be 2.5 hours and it took us just over 2 hours. So it's really close and easy to get to. Now what we needed pre-travel, so before we got on the plane, we needed a PCR test within that 48 hours. And we also needed travel insurance. Now each country is different at the moment, of course, but we needed travel insurance to get into Singapore that covered in case we got COVID. So we needed that PCR test, and that was all of us, including the children. And we needed the travel insurance, and we're New Zealanders, so we didn't need a visa. We can go into Singapore very freely. Now what we needed when we got into Singapore, they had just changed the rules. We were really lucky. So when we got into Singapore, because we are fully vaccinated, and that was classed as 2 vaccines, so we didn't have to have had the booster. Once we got there, we didn't need a PCR test when we arrived, and we didn't need a quarantine. They had really just changed the rules, and I think you need to keep updated with the rules all the time because countries are always changing them. So we didn't need, it was free. It was like, you know, old times before, you know, this other thing happened in our lives, that we could get out of the airport and we were free to go. It was really lovely to actually have that freedom. So again, what we needed was that PCR test before leaving Bali. We needed our travel insurance, and if you needed a visa, but of course we didn't need a visa because we were New Zealanders. And we needed to download an app which was by the Singapore Health Authority. I'm going to show you. Don't look at my password. You can get into all my good bits. Now it was called Trace Together, and it was an app that we needed to load when you get there, to get anywhere in Singapore. So to get into malls, to get into restaurants, you have to scan your code. So Trace Together is the app, so I'm going to show you. It's called Trace Together. It's by the Singapore Health Authority. You need to download that app before you go, and it will not work until you step out of the airport. So once you get out of the airport, you put in your passport number and your name, and it'll come up saying you're vaccinated. So it's like your approval to get anywhere. And then when you go somewhere, everywhere you go at the moment, there's little machines, and you just put your phone up with your Trace Together app, and it will click you in, and it comes up. There's a person there making sure that, you know, when we go in the mall, restaurant, anywhere really, that we are vaccinated. So it's called Trace Together, and you just download that app. Now let's talk about accommodation. Where did we stay? Of course, I would have loved to have tried every hotel to be able to give you some unbelievable advice, but we chose to stay half our time in Sentosa Island, so a little island, you know, it's the fun island for lots of kids' activities. We chose to spend half our time in Sentosa Island and half the time in the city. So Sentosa Island, we stayed at the Aquarius Hotel. Now this was a Resorts World, so for Universal, it was a Resorts World Hotel. And do you know what? We used to be able to, it's such a shame we can't anymore. We used to sneak into one room because, you know, we're 5, but, you know, all you really need is a couple of beds and everyone's fine, and maybe a sofa and everyone's happy. But of course we had to book 2 rooms. So it really pumps up your price because of course you're paying double now everywhere you go. So we stayed at the Aquarius Hotel. The rooms were amazing in size. They were beautiful in size. They were amazing inside. The bathrooms were massive and really nice. This was an amazing hotel for the size of the rooms. To be fair, you could have fitted 3 families if they'd let you into the room because they were so big. They had a lovely balcony and the bathrooms were, I like a good bathroom. So this cost us about $3,500, I know you're going to fall off your chair, $3,500 New Zealand dollars. And that was, I'll put that US cost here, and that was for 5 nights. I know it's a lot, but remember that's 2 rooms, and we did want to stay somewhere nice and really handy. It was super handy. They had a shuttle that took you everywhere, but you could have walked. It was a 3-minute walk to like get to Universal. There's a massive shopping area there, lots of restaurants, so it was really easy to get around. There's a big casino there if you like. I'm not really a gambler, but you know, there's a lot accessible within that area. So the Aquarius Hotel was great. Now I have to say the only downfall, and I'm saying the only downfall because everything else was amazing at this hotel, was the breakfast. Oh, it was actually, I love a good breakfast at hotels, and it was the worst breakfast. Actually, even the kids didn't eat it. And you know, kids are kind of, well, they can be fussy if it's a vegetable, but you know, they're easy when it comes to breakfast. But it wasn't worth paying. We paid extra to get breakfast. So you could do room only or room with breakfast. And we chose to do breakfast because we thought, oh, we're out and about every day and we didn't know what was closed. And it was definitely not worth it. I thought their breakfast was really not good. And 2 minutes up the road, you've got this large shopping complex area with lots of restaurants, Starbucks, all these other places that you can go to eat. So it really wasn't worth paying for the breakfast at the Aquarius. Other than that though, I had no faults. It was a great location, amazing rooms. Everything was perfect in the hotel. So that was a good one. Then we chose to move to the Intercontinental. Now there's 2 Intercontinentals in Singapore, and we chose to move to the one in Bugis Junction. I hope I said that right. Maybe not Bugis, Bouget, if we were French. Bugis Junction. And this was a beautiful old building, and again we had to do 2 rooms. And it was honestly the same cost as the Aquarius. So it was about $3,500 New Zealand dollars for those 2 rooms, including breakfast for the 5 nights. And this hotel was stunning. The rooms were a lot smaller, but they were beautiful. They were well looked after, and the bathroom again wasn't half as luxurious as the Aquarius, but it was a beautiful hotel. Now their breakfast was amazing. Their breakfast had everything I ever want in a breakfast, and they had beautiful fresh juices daily. They had, cook your own eggs. They had lots of choices for kids. The kids really loved their breakfast. Actually, I was sad to leave their breakfast. I was like, oh, I don't get this tomorrow when I go home. So that hotel was also an amazing location. It backed on, you could enter out the hotel and you were in the Bugis Junction Mall. So it was really, there were heaps of amazing food options around, lots of shopping close by, and I really loved the location because it was 2 minutes to Raffles Hotel. It was a short walk. We actually walked one day from Orchard Road, so the Orchard Road Mall area, the shops. We walked back to the Intercontinental and it took 1 hour, but it was lovely because remember they have sidewalks. So we were super happy with that. So I thought both of the hotels were amazing choices. I can't say don't stay at any of them because they were both awesome, and I definitely think they were worth the money and worth staying there because they were in such great locations. They were lovely rooms. The staff were all awesome. So the Aquarius Hotel in Sentosa Island and the Intercontinental, the Bugis Junction one. It's a beautiful old building and I love anything old. The top things to do. Now I didn't get to do everything because I told you I ran out of time. There's going to be a few things I'll miss out that you'll go, why didn't you put that in there? And I'll be like, well, I didn't get to do them. Also, I guess it's hard because I've got a 13-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 7-year-old. So the difference between what a 13-year-old wants to do and a 7-year-old wants to do, very different. I can tell you that. So sometimes when the 7-year-old, I want to go to the night safari, well, the 13-year-old was like, but next time I'm taking her. We didn't get to do the night safari. So what we loved, so when you go to Sentosa Island, do you know what, there is just a lot to do there. If you've got kids, it's kind of, you can't not go to Sentosa Island because there's Universal Studios, you can do the luge, you can bungee, they have the beautiful cable car that goes across and it's really pretty at night time. And there is so much to do there. So we went to Universal. It was really fun. Small, so don't expect a massive Universal that maybe you're used to. It's a small Universal. We really only needed the day there and we got everything done. And they were kind of structuring times because of COVID. So some rides were only open for a few hours here and then they'd open something else. But a full day, it opens at 12 p.m. and then it closes at 7 p.m. and it was enough. We got everything done, but it was a really fun day out. If you like rides, I like rides and I like roller coasters. Woo! But I don't do spinny. I've done spinny before and I've thrown up, so yeah, I can't do spinning. But it was a really fun thing to do. We also did the luge. Of course, we're New Zealanders, so we had done the Rotorua luge, which was really fun, but we still love a good luge, and it was a really great thing. I think you're going to ask me, is the cable car worth it? Because the cable car is a lot of money. It's really expensive. But do you know what? I think if you're only going to go to Singapore once in your life, you have to do it. And I wouldn't just buy the pass. I'd buy the pass to do unlimited rides because it was really nice. We did it during the day and then we did it at night time. And of course it's beautiful at night time. Scary because you're really high. But it was a beautiful thing to do at night time. And then during the day we used it as a stopping point to get off at places and to see things. I know I talked about Raphael's high tea and the eating, but it was also an amazing thing to do. It was a really cool experience. Again, expensive. I know. I wish that there was like cheaper options that I could tell you. But Raphael's high tea was amazing. It's an amazing building and the high tea was well worth it. So it has to go on my top things to do if you're going to go to Singapore. And the last thing we really enjoyed to do was we walked along the river one day and we walked through the city from our hotel, so the Intercontinental, past Raphael's, down to past some beautiful old buildings along the way, and you get some amazing shots of Marina Bay Sands. And then we walked along the river and it was such a lovely thing to do. It's free. There you go, I put a free thing in there. It's free. And it was a lovely walk. You can walk all the way along there. You can go to Marina Bay Sands and then you can come walk your way back or jump on a boat to come back. But it was a really lovely thing. It has to be on my top things too because I really enjoyed it. Now, I know you're going to say, why have you not gone in there shopping? I know, because people rave about Singapore shopping and they're like, go Singapore, go to shopping. Now, what did I think of Singapore shopping? Do you know there's a lot of malls? There's the Ion Mall. The malls are amazing. There's so many malls and they're all amazing. So I think they're just going to an experience in itself because they're all really different. They're all they're just a nice thing to do, right? And if you're hot and you're bothered and you want to go in somewhere cool, then you can have a little walk around the mall. Did I think the shopping was mind-blowing? I don't know. If I'd coming from New Zealand, I would have said yes, because there is a lot of shops we don't have in New Zealand. But in Bali, we have a lot of shops, and also I think if you're high-end shopping, so I found so much of the malls had Gucci and Chanel, and you know, I don't buy that type of stuff. My pockets are not that deep, and I don't buy that type of stuff. So if you love Chanel, you love Gucci, you love Boss, you love all these things, then 100% you're gonna love it. But normally on the bottom floors they have like H&M, Zara, Muji, like all those things. And we've got H&M, we've got Zara, we've got Mango, we have those things in Bali. So for me, it didn't feel like much. Also, if I can, I'll boutique shop. I love boutique shopping. So, you know, Haji Lane is a beautiful lane that you go to. It's really colourful. It's really, it's a fun place to go. You can go there and eat at night, or you can just go hang out there during the day, and it backs onto Arab Street, and so it's a whole this area around Haji Lane, Arab Street is a really fun place to go, and it's got some great eateries and bakeries. But I thought that could be where my boutique shopping is, and there's a couple of boutique shops, but there wasn't a lot. So I bought the odd thing at a few boutique shops, but I can't tell you that Haji Lane was an amazing lane for boutique shopping, because it really wasn't. So if you are living in New Zealand and you want good shopping, go to Singapore. If you're coming from Bali, if you're coming from the United States, no, you're not going to go to Singapore for shopping, because you have it all. You don't go there for that. So if you're looking after cute boutique shopping, which I really love, you know, it's not the place for you. So shopping was not in my top things to do in Singapore, because it didn't tick the boxes that I wanted it to tick. Food, glorious food. We're going to talk about food. That's the most important. And Singapore has the most amazing food. I mean, I haven't traveled the whole world, but it has the most amazing food. I felt so spoiled there for food. The food was amazing. We ate at amazing places. Now, the thing is in Singapore's expensive. It is. But you know, I'm a New Zealander. New Zealand is expensive. So we felt like when we went out for brunch or lunch or dinner or anything, it was just like we were back in New Zealand. It was around, you know, $120, say, for breakfast or lunch. So I know that's going to shock you, but that's really the same price as what we would pay when we would go out in New Zealand for a family of 5 for it all. So Singapore is expensive. The options are for cheap. Of course, they have amazing hawker centres. So a hawker centre, if you don't know, it's a massive like marked food hall area where there's lots of different options of food. Now we went to, because I'm a little bit of a crazy rich Asians lover. Actually, right before going, even when we were there, I watched Crazy Rich Asians. I love that movie. And so we had to go to the hawker centre that they went to in the movie, which is called Newton Hawker Centre. It's really close in the city, and what you got there was you just got so many options of, you could have dumplings. Now Singapore are kind of famous for their chili crab and peppered crab, and it was amazing. Expensive. That's probably, the hawker market is really quite a cheap way to eat, but the crab wasn't cheap. But do you know what? I don't know if you've eaten crab before. There's not a lot of meat on crab. So it was beautiful, but there wasn't a lot of meat on crab. But then I got the lobster. See, I do love fish. Yeah, I'm not vegetarian, sorry. I love fish. And so the lobster was unbelievable. Of course, there's a good amount of meat on a lobster, and it was a far better financial decision because it filled you up. And it was cheaper. But the crab is a must try if you eat fish. And at the hawker centres, you know, the kids got dumplings. Now Mila, my 13-year-old, she is vegetarian, and I had been told this before, that as a vegetarian it's quite hard to eat in Singapore, and I would definitely say we struggled a little bit more to feed her there. Of course, Bali, there's so many vegan and vegetarian options, but there is a lot harder. At the hawker centre she was able to find, there was a couple of Indian options, and she had samosas, and she also had fried rice. So there weren't a lot of options in terms of if you're vegetarian. But also the satay was amazing. So the chicken satay was amazing, really reasonable prices. So the Newton Hawker Centre has to be up there on one of my favourite food places. And then there's a place called Jong Baru. I hope I said that right. Jong Baru. You need to go there. It had two beautiful places that we loved. One was called Plain Vanilla, and they had amazing food and amazing cakes and lots of treats, and it was a really nice little spot to sit. And then the other is called 40 Hands. Now they are like do amazing coffee, so if you're a coffee drinker, then 40 Hands. But Jongbaru is a really cute place to go. It's a really sweet place to go, and those two places, so Plain Vanilla and 40 Hands, I would definitely say go there for food. And then another great food place was, there is I want to say it's a department store, really. Yeah, you could say it's a mall within itself. It's called Takashimaya. And at the bottom of Takashimaya, if you go right to the bottom, there's a big food hall area. So there you can get, you know, they have lots of chocolates from all around the world. They have juice places. They have lots of different, you know, we could get Japanese treats. We could get all these different treats. But they also had bakeries down there. And that was probably another really cheap option if you are going to Singapore and you're on a budget. At the bottom of Takashimaya, they have a couple of bakeries, and you can choose whatever you want, and it was a fraction of the price of anywhere else that we ate. So Takashimaya, bottom floor, go there, and it has some great little food options. Oh, we went to a really fun place, and it's open 24 hours, and it's called Smile Dessert. Oh my goodness, these desserts, you did have to line to get these desserts. It's a bright pink place in Singapore. These desserts were like, one of them, you'll see it's like this high. I'll put it up here. It was so massive, and we tried a number of different desserts. It was such a fun place to go to, and at the end of the night, if you're like, oh, I just want to finish on something yummy, Smile Dessert was definitely a place you must go to. It was fun. The desserts tasted really good, and it was really the only place we had to line, but it was worth the line. It went really fast, and it was worth it. Now I'm finishing on probably the most spectacular food place to go to, and that was Ruffles High Tea. It's an experience, so it's a lot of money. It's a one-off. Look, we did it, and I'll never probably do it again when I go back to Singapore unless I win lotto. But it was such a beautiful experience. We were there over Easter, so they had this special Easter high tea. Oh, the stuff that came out was so cute, and it was such a nice experience for the kids to sit down and have a high tea, and in that beautiful, stunning building. Even if you can't go to, you know, you're on a strict budget and you can't go to Ruffles High Tea, see if you can go into Ruffles and just see it, because it's such a stunning building, and it was beautiful to sit there and have our high tea. And you can spend a little bit of time there, you can take your time, and it really was worth it. The food was amazing, and I always look at high teas and think, oh, that's not going to fill me up, but it filled me up so much. We actually didn't even finish it because there was so much yummy food to eat. Thanks guys for watching. I so hope that was helpful. I hope that it's got you inspired, that you now want to go to Singapore and you don't see it just as a stopover destination. It really is a destination in itself. There is so much to do. It's great if you've got kids, it's great if you're on your own, it's great if you're couples, it's super safe, so you don't feel, if you're traveling on your own, you don't feel unsafe. You could go out at night and you'd be completely fine. So it's a really fun place to go to, and I hope that helped and has given you some good tips on when you go and maybe what you're going to go see or stay or eat. And I hope to see you. Maybe I'll see you in Singapore, or maybe I'll see you in Bali. I'll see you soon. Bye.